business and ask if any members of the committee or staff have any announcements to make.
I'll just say that your council liaison is here.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Councilman. Hard to see folks on the, especially when you sit further down the table. I can see big empty chairs and then you're tiny. But so thanks for pointing that out. I appreciate it.
I thought this would fill up.
No announcements. Move to public comment. Martin, did you get any requests for public comment?
We do. It looks like we have a couple of members of the public here. So if you want to open it up both to online and to the room.
Yep, happy to do that. If either folks, I just wanted to see if anybody had specifically asked you, if any members of the public, either online or live in person at City Hall, have any comments to make.
The only time that you can make comments, or can there be a time for it after a certain amount of discussion?
Do you have something about one of the items on the agenda?
About it. Not specifically, but I also looked at the agenda and there's a lot of stuff there that I don't know if will necessarily,
Okay,
transition into the questions that I have, or the
sure.
kind of general things that I had wanted to speak.
But you have public participation at the end also?
Not specifically, but
Can you do a motion to do public participation at the end instead of the beginning?
I'll throw it to the committee.
Well, I'm looking at the folks are allowed to make comments. We may respond to criticism, but we can't really make it an agenda topic since it's not on the agenda. But I mean, if you just want to make a comment later, we can certainly do that.
Maybe can I comment later?
Yeah.
Sure, we just can't engage with you on.
Yeah, I kind of want to see
What's on the
exactly what kind of information you folks have or will talk about, and I don't want to necessarily double up to that.
Okay.
Can I make a quick comment?
Yes, sir.
The new policy of city council is public participation, meaning about general anything goes subjects have to be in person. We are not taking video anymore. Now, on items that are on the agenda, we are taking video, but we're considering changing that policy also. Just thought that might be interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's good.
Yeah,
I'll let that up
that
to
is
the
interesting.
council.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, we'll move on to the approval of minutes. We have 8 sets of minutes that I'm certain we all read every single word of since they were sent to us the other day. But if there's any discussion on the minutes, or I'm happy to entertain a motion to approve all 8 sets of minutes.
Well, I'll definitely second that motion and congratulate Martin on all that hard work.
Did we have who made the motion?
You.
No, I said I'd entertain on if somebody wanted to make a motion. I can't make the motion.
I'll make the motion.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, John. All in favor of approving 8 sets of minutes, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Sounds like the minutes are approved unanimously, Martin. Great job. And we'll move into old business. Butler Avenue Corridor Complete Streets Project.
Mr. Chair, give me a moment. I'll pull up the our PowerPoint.
Perfect. Where did I? We got it.
And I'm going to switch screens in the room. All right, this item is just a kind of a follow-up and status update on Butler Avenue. And so a couple topics to go through: the bike lane barrier, the speed limit, SS4A grant, TA grant, transportation alternatives, and then some concept plans we're working on for the raised bike lanes. So first, the barriers were discussed by council on February 27th, so 2 weeks ago. No new direction, council direction was sought. Previous council direction was that the barrier should remain in place pending the street conversion. And I did want to show you an updated map that illustrates what barriers are in place and which ones have been removed. Everything that's in green is still in place. What's shown in orange was removed last summer. And then what's shown in red has been removed since August of 23. What that really means is it was removed due to snowplows this winter. It was kind of unintentional. These are the ones that were taken out by snowplows, in other words. Moving on, speed limit evaluation along Butler was also reviewed by council on February 27th. The direction council provided was to lower the speed limit from Milton to Sawmill from 35 and 40 to 30 miles per hour, and from Sawmill to Ponderosa from 40 to 35. And by way of timing, this was a work session, so we only received council direction. We're working on an ordinance to officially change the speed limits. That will go to council for the first read on April 2nd and the second read on April 16th. Ordinances take 30 days before they become effective. So that makes it May 16th that the speed limit will become effective.
Great.
City engineering is working on getting a work order together already, so we're ready to put up new signs when the ordinance becomes effective on the 16th, 16th of May, I should say. So I'll pause and see if there are any comments, questions, or discussion.
I will just comment that I appreciate the council's direction, especially in light of I think the almost unanimous support of that by both the Pedestrian Advisory Committee and the Bicycle Advisory Committee. So just appreciate that, making it up to the council and them acting on that.
I think it was unanimous at council too, wasn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
right. Everybody,
And
members were in favor of lowering the speed limit.
it was not unanimous among city staff. I will say that. So thank you very much to the council.
No comment.
More on Butler, Safe Streets for All grant project for the raised bike lanes and other improvements. We had a kickoff meeting with Federal Highways on February 23rd. We're working through a grant agreement with Federal Highways. Just by way of context, our grant is one of 48 implementation grants nationwide. One of only 2 in Arizona. The other one is for the city of Phoenix, I think on Indian School Road. And in total, $605 million was awarded nationally for implementation grants. And implementation simply means that it's for a construction project, a project that ends up building something. I did that math for you if you're curious. 48 into 605 million. It's about $12.6 million per grant, and ours was for 9.6. So we're making note of that for next time to ask for a little bit more.
Thanks for doing the math, Martin.
Not in my head, mind you. And then I've included a link to the website for Federal Highways, which includes kind of a summary of all the grants, including there's a description of each project, each of the 48 projects that were awarded. I think it's really useful to go through those projects just for ideas to see what other communities asked for and how much they asked for and received.
God, yeah.
Because this is, I mean, this is not a one-time thing. We can ask again. In fact, we have an item on here a little bit further that is about just that. On the transportation alternatives grants, about the same time that we were awarded the Safe Streets for All, we got a transportation alternatives grant from ADOT for $416,000 for design only for the 2 protected intersections. They were overlapping grants really, and we were kind of hedging our bets or providing a little bit of backup in case we didn't get the Safe Streets grant. We did end up getting both, and after consulting with Federal Highways and ADOT, it would greatly simplify the process if we returned the TA grant. So the city has sent that letter. Funding is still included in the SS4A grant. A little bit extra funding, it never hurts as prices escalate and so on, but just for the sake of making it easier to go through the grant, in the administration process, it was kind of seemed like the best idea to give that money back. We're working on new projects to apply for in the next round of TA grants, so hopefully we'll be as successful with that. Questions, comments? Keep moving.
Yep, all good news. Keep moving. Thanks.
The last thing I wanted to let you know is that the city has engaged WSP, which is an engineering firm, to do concept plans for the whole corridor. They have previously done concept plans for the 2 intersections. We asked them to do the whole corridor to kind of get an idea of how it would lay out. They have submitted a draft report to us. We are going through it internally, provide comments. As soon as I can, I don't think I can quite yet because it's in draft form, but I'll share it with you so you can see what's in it. A couple of the highlights, their estimated cost was $11 million. That does not include the 2 protected intersections, which added up to somewhere between $1.5 million and $2 million. So total project cost is somewhere between $12.5 and $13 million. So we're a little bit under to start with, but we're in the ballpark at least. Mm-hmm. For the most part, the project fits within the existing right of way. But there's a couple of corners where acquisitions might be needed. And by doing these concept plans, we're getting a head start on that because we're identifying where they are and can start to contact the property owners as necessary. A pleasant surprise, there is room for a parkway along most of the corridor. We were kind of concerned in some places about how much space we had. The one exception is on the south side of Butler from San Francisco, generally to Lone Tree. We knew was going to be an issue, and it is. So we may not have a parkway in that location, but we'll still have the separated bike lane and the sidewalk alongside of it, just no parkway. And then we're looking at different types of crossings at Humphreys and O'Leary. The Humphreys crossing, of course, exists now. The O'Leary would be a new one. And then I wanted to show you, nobody takes screenshots or commit this to memory. Just kidding. This shows kind of a section. This is the intersection at Butler and Beaver. And this is what had previously been drawn for a protected intersection concept. And then you can see along the corridor itself, kind of in the light red, is the bike lane, and the gray is the sidewalk adjacent to it. And then the green is the parkway between that facility and the street. You can kind of see how it works we get to crossings, like here's LaRue, and how it works at driveways, these being 2 alleys. And then at the top of the screen, you can see the cross section. 11-foot lanes, 14-foot, they call it a left turn lane here, but in a lot of places, it's a median, a landscape median along Butler. 5-foot parkway, 5-foot bike lane, 6-foot sidewalk.
The road's currently 11 feet wide.
Yes, when we did the barrier project, I think some were wider than that, but they've been.
So we're used to that.
Yeah, that's what they are now. Yeah. And then keep in mind that these are preliminary, but I wanted to give you an idea of what crossings might look like. This is the one at Humphreys. And you can see it's been kind of expanded to accommodate bikes as well as peds. So bikes coming down Humphreys would use this kind of off ramp. And then both, it's wide enough so that both could cross. And then bikes have a little bit of facility behind the conference center. And there's a sidewalk as well, and a sidewalk here in the north side. And then behind all that, the protected bike lanes kind of continue through the intersection. And then the image on the right, it's really jumping on my screen. Is that, I don't know what that, not sure what that is. This is the new crossing at O'Leary. So this type of crossing okay, better. So this type of crossing is called a toucan. They're used pretty regularly in Tucson. And the idea toucan really is a kind of a different version of the word toucan cross. So both pedestrians and bicyclists can cross at the same intersection. And for peds, everybody goes to the middle, and the crossing is done kind of in the middle of the intersection. So for pedestrians, you would just cross to this middle island, wait for the signal, and then cross. Same from the other sides as well. As a cyclist, on O'Leary, you would get to the kind of the middle and then enter this island, hit the button and wait for the signal, and then cross with pedestrians. Again, this is conceptual. It may not end up being this style of intersection. Still some work to be done. One of the consequences of a toucan crossing is this left turn from Butler to southbound O'Leary stays in place, but the left turn from northbound O'Leary to westbound Butler is removed. So I would imagine that this gives if you're driving in the neighborhood, this gives you a little bit less access, being able to make that left turn. I would also imagine that this is a difficult left turn to make.
Yeah.
When,
Yeah, they're not losing much.
light, yeah, just from the speed of vehicles and the sight lines.
And around that corner, yeah.
However, we really need to kind of work through those issues and make sure that everybody who lives in that area and everyone else is comfortable with how that might work.
Everyone will be going 5 miles per hour slower too, right?
That should help. Absolutely. This crossing was identified specifically in the neighborhood plan for the south side, and it was something that the neighborhood was really keen on. So I think they'll be happy to see this. So they may already have some ideas about that left turn right off the bat. So that kind of wraps up the conversation on Butler. Questions, comments, thoughts, observations?
I have a thought. One thing I've noticed on the pedestrian crossing is farther from the center line of the street, like shown here. A good example would be on Lone Tree. If you're going north and you have a light at Butler, well, the cars tend to stop right in the middle of where the pedestrians are supposed to walk.
Yeah.
And, I've done it myself, and then somebody tries to walk across and I'm blocking their way. Or if I stop back where I should, then people kind of like, honk at me, like, why are you waiting back so far? So I don't know if there's any cure for that, maybe better signage or something, I don't know. Just something to think about.
Yeah, this is the stop bar. Typically the stop bar assumes that this is a Hawk pedestrian hybrid beacon that flashes red, so you're required to stop. If it were an amber beacon, it would be the shark's teeth or the triangles, which is a yield line showing you where to yield. And so there's a sign with, depending on if it's a stop or a yield condition, that says stop here for pedestrians or yield here for pedestrians.
Yeah, sign might be very helpful.
And in both of these types of crossings, the stop or yield line is placed well back from where the crossing is. And the purpose is, if one vehicle is stopped on the inside lane, they're less likely to block the view of a pedestrian crossing for the driver in the second lane. So the further back you are, the more vision for everyone. So the double threat crash was recognized as if people are stopping too close, a stopped vehicle may block the view of the pedestrian for another driver. They may not understand why that driver is stopped. And so they're universally designed to have the stops set back further.
I think I mentioned once before that when I was a kid, one of my neighbors was crossing Broadway, which was 4 lanes at the time. And a car stopped for her and she walked out, but the other lane didn't stop and she was killed.
That's the double threat crash.
Yeah, she died.
Yeah.
So it is a real issue.
Well, I will mention one other kind of design detail. Here, this is Butler, this is LaRue. On the north side of Butler, close to LaRue, is a fairly large cottonwood tree that if we maintain the parkway through there, we'll likely have to take that tree out. If we remove the parkway for that to go around the tree could remain, at least in the things could be built around it. Bike advisory was fairly adamant that we go around the tree and try to. It's a really big tree.
I would for cutting the tree down and removing it and having it go straight through there.
I mean, they grow fast.
An
Right?
ambivalent, yeah.
Yeah.
Cottonwoods grow fast. Yeah.
I'll make a note of that for the minutes.
Hello, I have a question, Martin. Sorry, this is Emmanuel James. I'm just a community member, I guess. But I was wondering, I know this is all conceptual design right now at this stage, but I was just wondering what's the stance on Flagstaff adopting the new MUTCD pavement marking standards as well as signing standards?
I think that they would generally be incorporated into this project. Did you have something, was there one specific one in mind that you were thinking of? Or a few of them?
No, I just noticed that there were, I kind of reviewed the new, well, like briefly, looked
Yeah.
at some of the changes, and there were some changes regarding pavement markings for bicycle facilities. I don't think there wasn't much regarding bicycle signs or wayfindings, but I could look into it. But I was just wondering if this was still abiding by like the old, well, I guess now old 2009 edition of the MUTCD.
No, I think because the new MUTCD has been adopted, that we would design our signing and striping to meet that. And then anything in ProWag as well. ProWag being the accessibility guidelines for public rights of way. Also a new document, but because they're now adopted, that's what we would use for our guidance.
Right. Yeah, and I think just it'd be nice to keep note and tabs on APS polls too as well, since there's a lot of it seems like there's gonna be a lot of pedestrian and bicycle activation buttons for these devices that are going to be implemented at these intersections. That's just general comment, but
Do you mean like where the push buttons are placed relative to the
Yes.
crossing? Yeah. That's a really good point. There's new guidance in ProWag for where buttons need to be placed relative to the crossing. And again, since we're using federal money, we're required to meet accessibility standards. We would have to incorporate that new guidance from ProWag.
Jody.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around this and wondering for the people, say, going southbound in cars on any street, say Beaver or O'Leary, and they're planning to make a right turn onto Butler. And the whole right turn on red issue where they just pull right across the crosswalk. It looks like on LaRue, there might be enough room for one car to make it up there where they can have their visibility to see. Is there the anticipation that for Beaver southbound or O'Leary southbound drivers, that if they stop at the stop line, that they can look to their left and actually have a clear enough field of view to see, or are they just going to roll right over the crosswalk the way they usually do?
Well, I think some of those details have yet to be worked out. I know that part of the signal may include a lead pedestrian and a lead bicycle interview, so that the light turns, there's a specific signal head for bikes, and then of course the walk signal for pedestrians. And those would give pedestrians and bikes a couple second head start. I don't know if that is typically used in conjunction with right turn on red restrictions. But I think those are some of the details that will
Yeah.
start.
And then the southbound on O'Leary for those people who are trying to turn right onto Butler. Yeah, are they? It looks like there's a little bit of a parkway there, so maybe they would only block half of the crosswalk, and so the peds and bikes would kind of smush over to the ped side, and that would be fine for the most part. I feel like we can work around that if there's just some way to get around them. Their necks are going to be turned to the right all the time, so they won't even be looking at people from the west of them.
Yeah, and this movement, making that right turn, is not subject to this to these signals.
Mm-hmm.
So they're in a stop and then a yield condition. They stop and then yield to any pedestrians or bikes in the crosswalk, and then can proceed. You know, when it's clear.
When it's clear of pedestrians, but then they may sit in the pedestrian crosswalk for a while they're waiting for it to, for the traffic to clear, because they probably won't have visibility to assess whether traffic is good. No, that's the way it mostly works. Hopefully people can smush over to the pedestrian side. The bicycles can.
Yeah, I think one thing that helps in the case of both O'Leary and LaRue is that those are lower volume streets, so it won't happen as frequently as it would at
yeah, that's nice.
up on San Francisco. Yeah.
Thanks.
Great, thanks, Jody. We had a hand that was up and the hand just went down. If you'd like to put that hand back up, please let me know. But otherwise, I think that's everything for Butler Avenue. Thanks to the city council for keeping this going and not giving up on Butler. I know it's a long, hard lift, but we all appreciate it for sure. Martin, next topic, Safe Streets for All planning grant.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the same grant funding program as we just talked about for Butler Avenue. However, for this part of it, we're looking at a planning grant. And part of the reason is that a portion of Safe Streets for All funding was set aside for construction, a portion was set aside for planning. And while the construction part of it has become is fairly competitive, there's money available in the planning side. So Metro Plan is working on a potential grant application for a planning grant that would pay for some version of a streets master plan, or a complete streets plan, or a Vision Zero plan, or some mashup of all those concepts. It does require a 20% local match. We do have money in the capital budget for both a streets master plan and a Vision Zero plan. So we have the match already available. This will likely be a multi-year effort. I know there's an interest in maybe getting some of it done soon so it could be implemented, and then waiting longer with some of the things that take a longer time. As I mentioned, Metro Plan is leading this effort. As a result, it could be the city as well as our other regional entities, including the county and ADOT. There's a potential to identify some of the information that we have in the ATMP, for example, redoing street cross sections. Could be one of the more immediate work products that would come out of the plan. And that would allow us to change the engineering standards to incorporate some of the principles of the ATMP. So I know this is all very preliminary, but the first grant cycle is coming up in April. So if the committee is inclined, we'd be looking for a motion to provide a letter of support from Pedestrian Advisory.
Mhm.
And I'm happy to, I know that's kind of a brief overview. Things are fairly general on, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
I'd be happy to make that motion that we support that effort. I think it's great.
Thanks, Jody. Got a second?
I can second that.
Thank you, Ron. Then a motion has been made to support a letter of support for this grant application. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes unanimously. Thanks, Martin.
Thank you.
What is that letter gonna look like in terms of being written and being signed?
I think next we'll circle back with MetroPlan, and they typically provide a draft for us to start with, kind of a sample.
Template.
A
Okay.
template, yeah, thank you.
Great.
So as soon as, I'll check back with them, and as soon as we have that, I'll provide it to the chair, and then we'll have to decide if we need to vote on it, or if it's something that if there's a different process for getting it approved.
Is there a deadline for that, for the letter to be submitted, do you know?
I know there's a couple of grant cycles over the course of the summer. The first one's in April. I think that MetroPlan ideally would hit the April one.
Okay.
In which case we'll have to scramble. But if it's one of the later deadlines, then we'll have time to bring it back to a meeting.
Okay. Let's see, I got a hand. Christopher Fair, what you got for us?
Hi, everyone. Chris Fair, transportation planner with the city. Just on that subject, I believe that the April deadline that MetroPlan is aiming to apply by is April 4th. And we also had similar correspondence from BAC, they're going to pull a letter together for us by then too. So I believe that's the date that we're shooting for.
Okay. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate that.
For sure.
I think MetroPlan is hoping to have all of the letters compiled by Friday, the 29th. I might get my date wrong, but I think that's what they were hoping for.
That's March 29th.
Yeah.
Do any of the committee members have any heartburn if Martin takes the template, puts something together, and I review it and sign it? If I promise not to put anything out and crazy in there, like saying I don't like John Day, I want him off the committee. Can we agree that I could just sign that on our behalf?
Okay with that.
Totally
Thank
support that.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, Martin, moving on to new business. Flagstaff walks, rises again.
I'm going to introduce
Where should I stand?
Kim Austin
Just sit over here.
from MetroPlan and Aubrey Flores from MetroPlan. We're going to take it.
Go right here? Okay. Where's the, right there, okay. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Kim Austin. Hi, I'm the new TDM planner for MetroPlan. I am planning to resurrect Flagstaff Walks. It was an event that I participated in when I was on Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and it's a great event. So as the TDM planner, I'm trying to bring that back to encourage walking in Flagstaff in October. It's a great month and it's not windy usually, which is great. And so MetroPlan submitted a grant through AARP, in the hopes of, if we receive the grant, the plan is to get a consultant to brand and Flagstaff walks so that we have all the material for future use. Because the last time that we had it, it was sort of a piecemeal, and I don't know, I think one of the committee members drew the logo. I should have brought that. We had a banner. It had a bunch of hand-drawn feet, you know, some dog paws.
It was clip art.
Oh, it was clip art.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's clip art of people's feet, and then the dog's legs were added to better reflect Flagstaff.
Right. I think there's roller skates or something on there. Yeah. Anyway, so events that might occur during Flagstaff walks might be International Walk to School Day, of course. Maybe we can incorporate a walk to work day, including walk to school day. These are all coming out of my brain. So another event might be a walkability audit around your organization. I have a whole list. We are going to focus, if we do receive the grant, there will be a senior focus because it is AARP. So it might be like a seniors walking to the park and doing and performing Tai Chi together. So different events like that. Of course, maybe the what's it called? Now, the week of not driving coalition, car-free week. That will be included. Maybe a progressive breakfast walk, which is super fun. Yeah, that was really fun. A lot of these events, and one of the theme is Jack Welch. He was very instrumental in this program. And so it's a commemorative, you know, we're definitely going to make sure that he is thought of the whole time. And we actually included his likeness in the grant. We will include some of Jack's walkers that still participate, maybe a mural walk, a scavenger hunt. I mean, anyway, yeah, there's a lot of things that I just mentioned and probably not as many days in October. So if for some reason we don't receive the grant, then I will still plan as many events as I can, but it may be more of a clip art thing. So, yeah.
We used to hold like theme walks, like a mural walk, a public art walk.
Yep.
Or a Southside history walk, a Route 66 walk. We had a walk where the geology of Flagstaff was explored through the buildings downtown. And we typically did it on Sunday mornings in conjunction. We started from the community market and had, you know, people who were experts in those fields could do the walks, and there would be, you know, routinely 25, 30 people.
Yeah.
Go on the walks. Yeah.
Absolutely. Wasn't there, what are the mountain lion themed? There was a walk with those, like walking to, you know, the numbered, what are the
Paws
sculptures. Sculptures. Yeah. So we did a walk with those. Just getting out, celebrating walking, and you know, raising awareness for pedestrian issues. So that's sort of the theme of October. Does anyone have any questions?
Sounds great.
Yeah, no, it was led by Pedestrian Advisory. So you'll see me again quite a bit, even though I'm on Bike Advisory right now. But so anyway.
There, if you get the grant, because I know it's a funding issue, is there considerations for street closures?
In my perfect world, absolutely. I would eventually, and I'm not sure it'll happen this year, but I would love to maybe, if possible, have some sort of cyclovia, street festival, maybe in conjunction with the farmer's market or something. I mean, I have these ideas, and yes, that would be great. That's sort of my end goal. And so Martin and I have talked at length about how great it would be. So yeah, there are definitely ideas, and
It's on the uptick though.
I mean,
Yeah,
it
you
would
gotta
be, it would
Proof
be
of purpose and then jump.
right. So yeah, I'm not sure if I'll manage this year. I might have to baby step it back into it, but it is on my radar 100%. Yes. I was looking for hands. Okay, so is that it?
No, that was great, Kim. Thanks for the update. I think I'm confident that we all support that. Would somebody like to support that with a motion to approve another letter of support for another grant application?
You submitted the grant already?
Oh, we already submitted. It's done. It's
Okay.
already in the works. Yeah, I'm sorry. It was a
Okay.
very last minute. As a matter of fact,
That's fine.
yeah, we had to move really, really fast, that we had to just inform our board that we did it. It was that fast.
That's fantastic. There was just a request for us to take action on.
I'm
the
sorry,
agenda, so.
you could still write a letter. I'll file it somewhere.
Martin writes the letter, so it'd be his issue.
Yeah,
Now
I think
that
it was
Martin
like a 2-week turnaround. It was so fast.
Oh no, the fewer letters that I have to sign, believe me, the better off everybody is. So thank you very much for the presentation, though. We're all, I know that everybody here is pretty happy to hear that we've got somebody picking this back up.
Yeah, and if it awarded, I want to say, wasn't it 20,000? 12? 12 or 20. It's a decent amount. Yeah, for some events. So yeah, I'm excited.
Excellent. Thank you.
Cool.
Martin, concluding general business and a whole load of reports. It's minutes and reports day with the pack.
Yes, and Kim and Aubrey have some information to share about Fremont Boulevard. So I'm gonna let them go first.
Perfect.
Where is it? In the, right there?
Yeah, I think you just have to take a page down.
Oh, I'm in it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my logo. Okay.
Recognize it?
Well, I was staring at the picture of the council room, not Metro Plan.
It's in the back.
Or I thought Martin was just making it nice, like Kim's from Metro Plan. Here she is. Okay. I'm gonna introduce Aubrey Flores. Go
My
ahead.
name's Aubrey. I'm the Transportation Demand Fellow with AmeriCorps as well, but working with Metro Plan. And so we're going to talk a little bit today about the Fremont Boulevard Asphalt Art Project. As you can see on the screen.
Got it.
Want me to go next?
Yeah.
Okay, next. There it goes.
Okay, so for this project, we have these goals shown on the screen. One of our main goals is the neighborhood-driven collaboration. So the art is kind of a physical manifestation of the work that they've been doing as a community. We've been partnering with the Flagstaff Arts and Leadership Academy to work with the artists to design this and then put it on the canvas. And this asphalt art has been more than just art on the pavement. It's been shown to decrease the rate of the pedestrian crashes by 50%, which is a great amount. Drivers are also 27% more likely to yield to pedestrians. And so it's just a great way to study roadway design without high investment dollars. And we received this through the Bloomberg grant. That's kind of the gist of the project. Okay, so here's our timeline for this project. Currently, we're working on an educational video to send out to the community. And then by April 8th, we should begin the vote on the art concepts through BPAC. And then the winning art will be announced on the 22nd of April. And then on the 18th of May is the painting day, which will be really fun. We'll have food, music. It'll be really great. So if you want to come join us, that would be great. We would love that. And so this is an example from Tucson. It's not exactly gonna be like this, but it's a similar concept to look at. And it just shows how it really brings the community to life. And there's the students working on the project at Fala, with the artists, so. Yeah, working hard.
I don't know if there's any more.
Oh,
And there it is.
and there's kind of the overall design of the street, as you can see with the art right there, so.
Is the art gonna be in the median or where people walk?
It is going to create a median instance.
So we're removing a lane of traffic and creating a median on one side of the street. The other side, so the the east side will still have 2 lanes of traffic. But the west side will be redesigned and all the greenish, I don't know, turquoise color, that is gonna be the canvas.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I had a minor concern about walking on painted surfaces. Like in the rain, sometimes you get like shiny paint, could be slippery.
No, yes.
It's all gonna be where the vehicles are, so.
This is, so it is going to be protected with candlesticks. So
Okay.
no one is going to be driving
Okay,
over it
good.
at all
Walking, yeah.
or walking over it. Yeah.
The pedestrians don't need calming, it's the
Yeah,
drivers.
yeah. Well, we had that happen, a case where somebody,
Oh.
our people painted the sidewalk, and when it rained, it was like slippery or nice.
Right,
It was
yeah.
beautiful.
That's not the plan for this one.
It was beautiful until people fell, yeah. That looks great. Thank you.
Do we need any more explanation or,
Any questions?
yeah, any questions?
Well, that's fantastic. I don't have a question. I just have a comment that this is awesome. Also, I'm on the Beautification and Public Art Commission, so I'll be one of the people voting on the artworks in a couple weeks. And also, I just want to say that this is a great start, and I hope that the city engineers and the police department can see the effects out there and realize that paint on the ground is not scary, and it is also legal. And we don't have to make things harder and make up rules and not do it just because it's new. Any
I
other
will-
comments? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I will say that this is temporary. I don't want anyone to be really upset when the paint goes away, because it will go away. The city has plans to, this is sort of the pre-redesign of Fremont. Martin, you can probably talk more about that. But next year, in 2025, right?
Yeah. So longer term, the street will get restriped to take one of the lanes out and add buffers to the bike lane, on both sides of the bike lane. And I think at that time, there may be new opportunities for canvases and another, a chance to make something permanent with BPAC's participation.
That's my hope, is that that we see a very this project is positively seen within the community and the neighborhood. We actually see some behavior change, and maybe somehow, BPAC can find a permanent way to have, asphalt art. And maybe other neighborhoods could, we could study other neighborhoods as well.
Because I think, can you go back to that Tucson example?
100%.
I think that
Oops.
they began with a Bloomberg asphalt art grant, but
Mhm.
it has been made permanent,
Mhm.
as I understand.
Yeah. I think the Living Streets Coalition, this is,
Sponsored that,
yeah, they sponsored it.
yeah.
And I think this is in front of the Children's Museum.
Yes, is on the left.
Mhm.
Can I tell a personal story about this?
Yeah.
Please.
We were visiting Tucson over New Year's and staying in the neighborhood just south of here, which is Armory Park. And one evening we were driving to somewhere north of downtown to go to dinner. And I was driving up this street and I got to just below out of frame to the bottom of the frame. And I swear, I unconsciously slowed down. And I don't drive fast to begin with, but I slowed down and I go, what? That's it. And then we went past the asphalt art and I go, oh, it works.
Yeah.
This
Mhm.
actually works.
Right?
What streets are these?
The picture?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's, fourth, fifth or sixth.
Yeah, that was in my brain like fifth.
Fifth is a major, semi-major street.
It might be fifth.
Fifth and
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah. It's just south of downtown.
And one of the differences, they have bollards in the middle and ours, it will not look like that. Ours will have the candlestick delineators on the end caps with a few spaced, along the way in those 5 different sections of Fremont. I don't know if you can see the little red dots. Those will be the delineators.
Mhm.
So, yeah. But yeah, we're gonna have the volunteers sign up when you vote, so everyone can come and, I don't know how long the volunteer, it's like probably a 1 or 2 hour little section, but it's like a paint by number, I imagine. I don't know. This is my first project too, so
I've heard it's paint by number.
yeah, I'm hoping that's what it is. I'm not in charge of the art.
Yeah. It'd have to be for me, yeah.
I know. I'm hoping that you don't have to have any
Want to see it.
art
Creativity.
background in order to participate, so I'm pretty sure that's what the idea is. I'm excited to see the concepts that the students come up with.
Great. Thanks very much for your time and your work on that. This is a really great project.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
All right, can we go?
Yes.
Are you sure? You to stay?
No.
Because most of this, I think we went over at BAC.
All right, Martin, you want to start plowing through our list?
Let's start plowing through. And for the first one, I'm going to turn this over to Chris Fair.
Okay.
All right, can you guys hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
All right, fantastic. Hi, everybody. Chris Fair, transportation planner. So for this first item, this is related to ped and bike capital grant planning projects that Martin and I have been discussing. These are all outlined in the ATMP and also have been budgeted for in the city's capital plan. We've started dropping them into some bins to develop 15 to 30% concept plans. And so we can just go through these quick, and if we want to dive into any of them specifically, we can go ahead with that. The first is this foot trails bin. It would include the design, 30% concept design of the Marshall Trail, the Sinclair Ridge Trail, and the Sawmill Trail. These 3 foot trails all have the capacity to service 2 are elementary schools, and 1 would be for NAU students connecting to I'm forgetting the name of the main foot trail that goes right through town that services campus. The second bullet is related to the Santa Fe Bikeway and foot trail. This would be south of the tracks on the west side of town. After that was the Milton Bikeway. I imagine that we've talked about this to some capacity before, but this would form an alternate bike path from downtown Flagstaff, aiming towards Lake Mary Road. Next bullet is a few foot trail connections that would be great to make on both ends of the Lone Tree Overpass project. One would connect the south side neighborhood to NAU campus, and on the north end, it would be where the Lone Tree Overpass would connect to the future. I'm drawing a blank on this other trail that we're about to, it's already been 100, it's at 100% design and should be built this year.
Schweitzer Canyon.
Schweitzer Canyon, there you go. So that's for those two connectors, which are important connections to make. After that are some enhanced crossing opportunities. One is on Humphreys around Fine Street, and the other would be Milton at Starbucks. Currently, we are we have it budgeted to do feasibility analyses of if we can put these two crossings in or not. And then there's a slew of other foot trails that we discuss and plenty of missing sidewalks that we've identified. So that is the gist. Is there any interest in diving into these projects in greater detail? It looks like
I was muted as I started coughing. I'll see if other folks do. I think if we were going to go into much more detail, probably would turn them into an agenda item for the future. But no, I feel pretty comfortable about what we've heard and what's going on. Any other comments or questions from committee?
And it's part of ATMP, correct? Yeah,
Yes.
we knew
Yeah.
this was
Yeah.
coming.
And
I'm not surprised. It's good. Yeah.
yeah, part of it gives us good information for future grant applications. And we know that there are 2 more grant programs that are coming out. That
So if you have the design, then you know what to ask for.
Yes,
You
exactly.
can,
Yeah. And both of them support bigger dollar amounts. So having some of these projects
Seems smart.
done, for the first group that Chris described, the Foots Trails, if we have 30% plans done for the trails, we can ask for construction money through the ADOT Transportation Alternatives Program. If we don't have 30% plans done, we have to ask for money to do that.
To do the design.
And it's just gonna take us, it just delays the project, basically. So we're trying to get them done
Great.
for that grant program. Okay, moving
Great.
on with other reports.
Yes. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
For sure. Thank you.
A couple meetings ago, we reviewed proposed engineering standards revisions. Just to report out, the council reviewed them also on February 27th. That was a work session, so there'll be an ordinance to adopt them for the first read on March 19th and a second read on April 2nd. Council had a lot of discussion about rolled curves at their meeting and ultimately decided to take them out of this round of revisions, study them further, and possibly bring them back with a future set of revisions.
I'll just say on that note, thanks to council for doing that. Again, something almost unanimous support from the Pedestrian Advisory Committee and the Bicycle Advisory Committee. And I think I was not surprised that they had a lot of discussion on it because I know we had a lot of discussion about that also. So thanks very much to the council for listening to the people. That just would make people less safe, and it doesn't belong in our engineering guidelines.
Quick question. So Martin, that'll probably come back to pedestrian and bicycle committees, and maybe the committee, what's the name of it, on diversity and not diversity?
Inclusion and adaptive living.
Yeah, it should go through that committee. I'd be very interested in their take on this. I was one of the ones kind of commenting about, my wife uses a wheelchair and I have concerns about that. I will say that just by chance, I ran into a neighborhood that did have rolled curbs, but at one place they had for the curb, instead of, making that real hard thing, it was a more gradual, and it's like, wow, maybe we could do something like that. But anyway, I'd be interested in the input from the 2 committees and the 1 commission. Thank you.
I'll just offer Councilmember McCarthy, my neighborhood has about half rolled curbs without parkways. So a little bit different and just littered with cars parking on the sidewalk, which leads to my incredible distaste for rolled curbs because it just makes it too easy for people to put cars in spaces that are designed for humans.
Very good point. Thank you.
Continuing on, this is kind of a standing report item, but there are a number of safety studies going on. So we wanted to just make sure that you're kept apprised of their progress. The first one is the Regional Transportation Safety Plan, that Metro Plan has been working on. Their board adopted it officially last week, so that one is kind of done for the moment. They are planning to start on work on a vulnerable road user safety plan. I think this will be they'll hire a consultant to do this. There is funding for it through a grant that they got through the Safe Streets for All program last year. ADOT is working on actually has completed a road safety assessment for Milton Road. Anything that you see here in yellow is a link. Again.
Yeah, calm it down.
So I sent a copy of this to you. So if you click on that link, you can download that road safety assessment. I think that we had it on a previous agenda at a previous meeting. We, along with ADOT, have asked for a road safety assessment to be done along Highway 89. This is on the east side of town, kind of almost from Banning all the way out to city limits. So like Snowflake Trails End. And it was triggered in part because there's a significant number of pedestrian fatalities and serious injuries along that section of roadway. I will add that the city is working on submitting a highway safety improvement program grant to add lighting along Highway 89, kind of in that commercial area. Staff did an analysis, and there is a number of lights that are missing based on our standards. So I think there would be 12 additional lights if that stretch met our standards. And if you look at the crash patterns, a decent number of them happen at night. So the HSIP Highway Safety Improvement Program requires you to look at how many actual crashes there are that resulted in serious injuries or fatalities. And that's assigned a cost. Whatever you're proposing to do will help reduce crashes, and there's a numeric value for that. So you derive a value, how much you're saving in terms of serious injuries and fatalities. And you weigh that against the cost of the project, and that's your cost benefit ratio. And just a preliminary cut, we have a really good cost benefit ratio for that area that could make us competitive. And I think, lighting and the frequency of crashes that occur at night, I think this could potentially make a big difference along that stretch. And it's a lot of pedestrian crashes. Also on the ADOT front, they're working on a vulnerable road user safety assessment. Chris and I are participating in those meetings. There's kind of a statewide committee that's formed. That will lead into an update of their active transportation safety action plan, which in turn will lead to an update of the overall statewide safety action plan. So they're kind of working this in steps. And as things come up, like surveys or meetings or opportunities to participate, we'll let you know. Continuing on, Chris referenced the Schweitzer Canyon Foots Trail. This stretches from the roundabout at Turquoise and Schweitzer Canyon Drive all the way to the end of Terrace, close to downtown. Chris mentioned that we have 100% plans, complete plans done for it. It's out for bid. The bids are due March 19th. The idea is that it gets constructed this summer.
Nice.
We talked in September, I believe, about Butler and Fourth, and we went through a number of alternatives for different intersection configurations. The city has submitted a raise grant asking for $19 million out of $29 million total. If we're awarded that grant, we could potentially include a bike ped underpass under that. And there's a good project description that's a couple of pages long if you click on that hyperlink in the title. Fremont Boulevard, we heard from Kim and Aubrey. First mile, last mile. We continue to work on the design for these projects. We, a couple of weeks ago, hired the contractor for it, and they're hired as a construction manager at risk, which means that they get involved in the process about halfway through the design, and they can have input into the design and phasing and that kind of thing. And it helps with delivery. It makes it less expensive generally when the contractor's involved in the design part of it. Just in case, remember First Mile, Last Mile is a federal grant through Federal Transit Administration that Mountain Line received, and it's for ped and bike projects that support transit. So we have a handful of sidewalks, crossings, and bikeways planned. Just kind of putting it on your radar, Metro Plan is working on an operations assessment for West Route 66, really from Milton all the way out to Woody Mountain. They have a project website if you want to take a look at their progress. Lake Mary Road safety, I think we talked about this before. The county has added some signs and is looking at some changes in how they patrol it. I think we've talked about that previously. Next one is the regional plan 2045. And again, this is just to get it on your radar. The city's going through the process of updating its regional plan.
City and the county both.
City and the county both, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing new on safe sidewalks or the Bill of Rights that we reviewed a few meetings ago. An update on the new positions we have. We opened up the multimodal transportation planner position and got 22 applications. Chris and I have been reviewing them. We think 8 are well qualified.
Nice.
We're in the process of reaching out and scheduling interviews. Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, you never know what you're gonna get.
I mean, 22 is a lot, but 8 that are qualified is really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think before the next Transportation Commission comes up, we'll review PAC appointments and reappointments. We have 1 vacancy, and I think a couple of you, I think a few of you might have expired in July, but if you're eligible to be reappointed, we'll get you scheduled for that. And that's it.
Anybody available for that vacancy, Martin?
We have a handful of applications, yes.
Are any of them fresh?
Yes, a few of them are fresh,
Okay.
recently submitted.
I remember last time we talked about it, one was like 3 years old, so I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay, great. That concludes general business. Before we move to concluding announcements, our members of the public have stuck with us this whole time, which is awesome. So I did wanted to have a go back and see if there was anything else that you would like to add based on things that we talked about or just general comments. Not to put you on the spot. Sorry for putting you on the spot and then saying I didn't mean to.
No problem. It was nice to hear all the various informations. I think one of my interests had been on the Flagstaff walks, festival and that kind of thing. I asked her directly the question, but maybe putting it out to the PAC in general is more consideration of street closures in programming, in outreach, in whether that's Earth Day stuff or festival stuff. Like, I think what kind of sparked my interest when she said October was I think it would be interesting to pursue potentially an Aspen Fest, because that's when we have a lot of the leaf peepers come up and they're looking at the aspen trees, right? But what do they do after they've been at Aspen Corner clogging up the entirety of the Snowball Road? They come downtown, and maybe we give them another Aspen Street festival that is close to cars and is a very walkable and walking forward and pedestrian forward event that could overlap with Flagstaff walks. Because a lot of the podcasts and things that I read about car centrism is that it's a cultural thing. We
Yep.
have to get people out of the culture of car centrism. And so you have to give people a cultural substitute. So when you just do the carbon neutrality plan, or all these plans, or all these acronyms that we come up with, it's a lot of data crunching. It's a lot of presentation. I would say I'm one of probably, I don't know, 25 to 100 people who stays up late at night and actually reads those entire documents. They're created by someone. We pay people to create them, right? But how often do they actually get read or interacted with? Not much. You know, it's like we see the lip service, but we never give the cultural inclusion and the cultural experience that is going to get people to convince that biking, that walking is not only, you know, an alternative form of transportation, but it's the first form of transportation. That it's the first thing you should look at is the quality of walkability over the quality of parking and parking access. And so just putting into that consideration of what you guys plan and what you folks kind of think about is the sense of how do we get a cultural discussion, a cultural exchange of ideas, and a cultural experience, because right now the overwhelming shove down our throats, literal life-taking culture we see is of car culture. It's always, how fast can we move them? Like you saying, the staff poo-pooed a lot of the 30-mile-per-hour stuff because, again, it's the cultural of slowdown. It's the culture of you're impeding on my progress. So giving people outside of, oh, we shut it down for New Year's Eve, which is great. 4th of July, which is great. But those are these national like observations of holidays, right? So everybody's kind of in it. Everybody kind of understands that that's what they're doing. But giving people additional experiences where they can see, oh, I didn't have to worry. I didn't have to look 9 times crossing the street because I don't trust any cars in downtown Flagstaff where the vast majority of people walk. And a consideration of usage, and I think that comes on to my next point is, and I've asked this at a couple of different times and kind of figuring out avenues to see how do we get a reasonable count of and a heat map of where we have the most pedestrians and pedestrian usage in Flagstaff. Because I looked this up on your pedestrian thing, and it's like 17% of walking trips are taken in the downtown area. 15% of trips are taken by this. But we don't have like a usage number. So I would really like to see, I mean, I don't know if this is a video thing. I don't know if this is a volunteer counter thing. I don't know if this is a camera and then you have AI like look at how many people used the individual crossings, but
That one.
yes, being able to see how many people actually cross, how many individuals actually cross Route 66 at San Francisco Street, Route 66 at Beaver Street, Beaver and Butler, San Francisco and Butler, because there's like a usage informational gap that I think we're severely lacking, especially for when you have a proof of purpose of shutting down a street. Let's say Aspen Street as a example, right? Usage wise, on First Friday Art Walk, the vast majority of Aspen Street from LaRue to San Francisco Street around Heritage Square, the vast majority of the usage of that space, the usage of the square footage of downtown, the imprint, is primarily pedestrian. And yet we can't seem to shut down the street from cars. And why is that? You know, because The usage indicates we should shut down the street, but there's no numbers to support that. There's no numbers to say, at that time, from 5 to 9 on First Friday, 500 people walked in this general area, or 250 people crossed the street on that makeshift crosswalk that is in between LaRue and San Francisco Street, right? That's like a mid-block crossing. And if you gave people the opportunity to not have to always look or slow down or have to worry about crossing the street, then they would cross the street freely.
Yeah.
Then this would be a optimal usage of that entire footprint of that space.
Yeah.
So is there a way that we can prove how many people cross certain streets? How many people are on certain streets at an average? I don't know if you can do maybe this is a Monday through Thursday, this time of day, it's mostly used. On the weekends, it's used even more. And how can we use that data to increase, again, a culture of appreciation of usage, not always defaulting to the vehicle.
Yep.
The default of the vehicle is, no, we can't close down Aspen Street because there's 16 parking spots.
No, you definitely, you're coming to the right place for people who don't want to default to vehicles. That's for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, so,
And
but
so-
really appreciate those points. That was great. Thank you very much for sharing those with us. And really thanks for coming and sticking with us. We don't often get a lot of members of the public that hang out for the whole time or for any of the time. So really appreciate that and hope to see you again.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, our pleasure having you. Martin, we got concluding announcements. The next
Public comment, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, hey guys, Joe Koenig, Chair of the Transportation Commissioner. Thanks for everything you guys do. Thanks, Trey, for your comments. One thing that I keep thinking about is, we have a college in this town, and there are students who get, who are studying traffic and transportation, and there's never any connection that we have with any of our committees or commissions that we ever hear from students saying we have these questions of man, wouldn't it be great if we could study this? And there's these, and it's only we had students who are trying to figure things out, and I don't know. So just something to think about for you guys if you know anybody or have any ideas of how we can incorporate and connect and sort of synchronize all of our ideas with available people trying to learn. Would be great.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate that. And man, I should have done some introductions at the beginning of the meeting. I couldn't even, you're just this tiny little figure to me, and I didn't even know that you were there. But thank you very much for joining us today, both you and Dre. I really appreciate it. And you both added a lot to the meeting. So thanks very much.
Thank you for listening.
Could I make a comment?
Of course.
I'll make two comments. I want to follow up on this. I have an engineering degree from the U of A, and my senior design project was a transportation plan for Tucson. And I will say, I never talked to any commissions or anybody about it. I talked to my professor and we did it, and that was the end of it. And my second comment is that I got my master's degree at ASU, and there I worked with a lot of committees and I did projects in the community and stuff. So I think a lot of time if we reach out to the university, grad students in particular might go, wow, that would be a great design project. And they might do a lot of work for you for free.
Well, I used to do the same thing. I would use them when I worked at the university. It was
Exactly.
labor.
And free labor, and also, you get some input from professors and everything.
Yeah.
So that's a great idea to follow up on. And my last comment is, as far as improving walkability and bicycle, the best way to do it, higher density. If you build, everything is like half acre and quarter acre lots, people are going to drive. But if you can have some higher density, I think of Seattle or New York City, or San Francisco. People, my sister went to college at the University of San Francisco. She did not own a car. Why would you need a car in San Francisco? Okay, we're not San Francisco, but the major point is that if you have higher density, then it just inherently makes it more walkable. And if it's more walkable, more people will use it, and it builds on itself. It's a positive spiral. All right,
Is that a planning and zoning issue still?
it is a planning and zoning issue, absolutely. And I might point out that this Tuesday, we're gonna be appointing three new people to planning and zoning. And I get one of the appointments.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, council member. I'll just point out that one of the items in the reports was the regional plan 2045. They are exactly wrestling with those issues now, like what's appropriate density? How do we support higher density? Where does it go? What kind of pattern should we look at? So go to that website. They're in the process of right now of looking at different scenarios for how Flagstaff might grow. And the commonality to all the scenarios is that it supports higher density. It's just kind of a question of what that pattern looks like and where it is. They reviewed the 4 scenarios against a number of metrics, including walking and biking, vehicle miles traveled, water usage, other things, and then compared it to kind of if we do nothing, the business as usual scenario, and all of them vastly outperformed in all the metrics, the business as usual. But it's really interesting, and they're just going through it now. So take a look at that website and look for opportunities to participate.
Members of the BAC and PAC have feelings about this. They should go there and make public comment, because it might be able to influence the regional plan.
Yep. Great. Thanks, council member. Appreciate your comments as always. Mark, you got anything else for us?
I have nothing else. Our next meeting is April 11th.
Well, that sounds good, and I look forward to being there in person. Sorry I couldn't be there today. On that note, we will conclude the meeting at 17:54. Thanks everybody for your time today.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Everybody have a great evening.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Yeah, I forget the specifics of it, but a lot of states have been